So by the last class, we were explaining about the difference between SQL and NoSQL, and they at the end of the class, I created an RDS database, but I couldn't able to log in. I know it's because of some security group issue. It doesn't allow me yesterday to access the database in the cloud. So today I'm going to retry that only from my. One second, let me put this. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is like first I will do some parallel deployments in the cloud now. So let me go to my DB cluster and then I create database. First, what I want to do is like first let me create a security group for the database, and then I will going to select the default options. Let me go to the security group. Uh, I'm going to create a security group and I'm going to name it as Postgres or like RDS-SD, and then I'm going to add inbound rule. Inbound rule numbers like Postgres something. Postgres is by default going to run in port 5432, and I'm going to open it from the world throughout the world. Okay, and I'm going to create the security group. So this security group is been created. So I come and here. So I'm just using the standard create Postgres engine version. I'm just using Postgres 14.12 and then free tier and giving the database name, master username, and then master password and confirm password is there. And then I choose the storage and instance types, and then I choose the default VPC and subnet groups. Public access is yes, and then VPC creation. Last time it created an VPC, like a security group in the VPC. Now I don't want to use this default one. I am going to select which one I created now. Oh, 1 second. Let me enable these things. Then additional configuration. This will be also Postgres. Backup retention, no. Encryption is no. Maintenance, no. That's it. I'm going to create the database. So let it create. Once it created, let me try to access this Postgres database from my PG admin tool. and then I let me show how the from the Postgres PG admin tool you can create database, and then you create some tables and append some data in it, so that we will see. So similar to this RDS, we have one more database. Let me show. So this RDS, we know this is an SQL database. So for non NoSQL, we have majorly people in AWS uses two major databases for NoSQL. One is DocumentDB, and the another major one people use is like DynamoDB. So what is the difference between the both are NoSQL only? The major difference between DynamoDB and DocumentDB. So this DynamoDB, it's kind of a NoSQL, but these things were mostly developed by AWS side. Okay, all this development has been done by the AWS side. But whereas the DocumentDB, it is similar to MongoDB. You can find all the settings and similarities between the MongoDB. Um, in this demo we will going to create an DynamoDB, and we will create some entries in it, so that we will see. Let I think it will take some more time to get for creation. Until that, I what we'll do, let me go to the DynamoDB section as well. See, it's a manage NoSQL service, which is a PaaS service. PaaS service, we know we don't need to worry about the underlying infrastructure, that the AWS will take care. So here you see, right, once you came DynamoDB, there is an option to create table. You just create the table, and I give it as like Phoenix DynamoDB. And then it is asking me the first thing as a partition key. So when I was initially told that this NoSQL will not contain any tables, but it is asking for me the partition key. So this partition key is the main key. So when I told the DynamoDB NoSQL, mostly is kind of a JSON file, but here in the DynamoDB, so consider it is your JSON file. It usually starts from the curly braces and ends with curly braces. So here the primary key in means it will have like some key value pairs, like some ID, some name, some data, some messages will be there. Okay, everything will be like some key value pair. So this partition key in means, one second, this partition key instruments, I have these many key pairs, right? So consider like I have I have like thousands, or like thousands of entries here. So in all these thousands of entry, this partition key value will be there. Okay, so because in this JSON file you consider I have an ID and then a name and then something called department, but in the next JSON file I will have only have the ID alone. I will have ID and then I will have some message, but I don't have this name or department here. So this whatever the key, the partition key name I give, this should be present in all my JSON, or like in all my entries. That's the meaning of this partition key. So you will get more familiar once I created this that table, and then I add some details. So here let me add something called employee ID. So what I am going to create a table for employees. So I am going to give that partition key as employee ID. And then the second key. This is like secondary key. So or sort key. So apart from ID, like apart from this employee ID, what other key that should be present in all other file? This is kind of an optional. You can either choose or you cannot don't choose. I'm just marking the sort name as name. Okay, I'm just giving the primary key. So in all the JSON files, in all the entries, it should have the employee ID, and then in the and secondarily it should have the name. So other things in the JSON file, you can have a number of key value pairs as well, like some departments or some marks or anything they can have. So okay, now what I will, so you can choose the type here, where the type is like string, means the it have the alphabetic names letters. When I test number, you will have the numbers from 1 to like you can just consider number. Binary means like 0 and 1s. You have three types of data types available here. I'm just choosing for employee ID, I'm just choosing it as a number here. For name, I'm just choosing it as a string. And then you can see like lot of default settings are there. So if I don't want to use that, I want to explain you all the custom settings that are available for the DynamoDB. If I click the custom settings, the first thing it is asking is this table class DynamoDB standard or DynamoDB standard only. You might be sounding that you have seen this name somewhere. So in storage classes, we have seen really there are like 6 to 7 storage classes. It is similar to that only. If I use standard, so the data is going to be sit in all the three availability zones. The data is going to replicate it in the three availability zones. If I choose standard one name, it's like one zone only, like out of three available zones, it is going to reset the data in only one availability zones. That's the difference between it. For this case, I'm just choose anything DynamoDB because after create I will delete it immediately. And then once it and you see the capacity calculator is there. So this is just something like how many read and write just for you to calculate for the cost. Okay, you can see if it is like average item size is 1 KB and one item is getting read and then one item is getting add, so the cost will be for like for the overall month it will be like some $0.67. So this just a calculator, you just ignore this section. And then if you see read and write section, on demand means whatever your application needs, so it will scale DynamoDB can scale according to that. Okay, you no need to specify this should be my read value, this should be my read capacity or write capacity. So if you like if you, that's the meaning of on demand. If you can, if you do give it as a proficient, so if you see there is read capacity auto scaling and on and off is there, and you can like choose the value like 1 to 10, you can choose the value. It's just in capacity like what the value that you want to vary, because like the higher the capacity unit consumption is there, the billing is going to increase. So that's the difference here. So you can see for both the read capacity and write capacity, this auto scaling and everything is there. For simple demo, I'm just choosing as an on demand. Okay, if you go for profession, you can just you can adjust the particular value that you want your DynamoDB scaling limits. Okay, I'm just going to choose it as on demand. And then this warm throughput is like so like how it can handle the events much faster. Okay, like how it can process, how soon it can process. So that's the meaning of this warm throughput. So you see that I'm just choosing the default values only. Like read is per second, it can read like 12,000 entries, and then it can do like 4,000 writes as well. I don't want to change any default settings. I just using the default setting here as well. And then secondary index. So and then encryption, we all know. Eh, if I choose AWS owned key, AWS will do the encryption at the back end without my intervention here. And then AWS managed key means still AWS is going to give that key, but you will have some control over that key. Okay, this the first option is complete. You will not, you no need of your attention here. But here you can see the key. You can have some controls over the key. This custom key is completely some key that you are still it's pointing to KMS only. You will create a KMS, but your client from like some customer will provide you key. That key you will upload it. That's the meaning of these things. And then deletion protection, if you don't want to delete, you even because after a creation somebody will try to delete it. If you turn on this deletion protection, it will not allow you to delete. First it will ask you to turn off this deletion protection, and then you can delete the resource. And then some resource based policy is there. Either you can control the access of this resource from the IAM by using the username policies or something, or you can have some policy here. uh, that's it. I'm going to create a table now. Let it create. I know this has been created. 1 second. You see, my first let me complete the DynamoDB thing. So if you see, my DynamoDB is get created now. So if I click the DynamoDB now, inside it asks me some. It's giving me first section as tables, and then you see the partition key is like employee ID, some number, and the sort key. The secondary key would be like name and string, and the capacity modes, and all the details that you can see here. Um, and then the time to live, all the options that we created, you can see that here. So here you at the top you can see something called explore table items sir. So this table is completely empty now. If I go here and explore table items, this is still not an like an complete table. But what this meaning is, like, if you see, like, if I try to create an item, see, the first thing, whatever the details I'm going to add here, it is going to convert this entry as an JSON file itself. Like, let me see. Let me put the employee ID as 100, and then the employee ID name is Satish. I'll put it as Sats, and then I will put one more parameter here, like in the string only, department DevOps. And then if you see the JSON view, you see I told, right, this is completely adjacent file, but this employee ID and name should be there. This n points to number, this s points to strings here. Okay, if I come to the form again and then you create it. Once it created, you can see the entries here. The primary key would be always employee ID, because using this primary key alone, the applications will connect to the DynamoDB and they will fetch it. Uh, like if I create one more item, let me create one more item. Let me create one more item. It is still, see, it is asking me the employee ID. I will put it as 101. I will put as name as like Loki, and then I will add one more attribute for this time I will add some other attribute. Mm, some seat number, something I put. I seat number is like, I put as number something. Seat as 12. If you create. Now, if you see the first entry which I created, I had three attributes, which is like employee ID, name, and the department. But the second entry which I put, it has only the employee ID and the name, and it has something as seat, but it doesn't have the details of department. Similarly, for the first entry, I don't have the entry on seat. So this is how you create different entries. Everything will be like some JSON file. So by using this primary key, whatever I primary key name I give, by using that only, the from people from application are will use this thing. So if I go to tables again, if I click here, uh, you see some additional info. So to connect these database, there should be you have to deploy your application in the in the same VNet, or it should have access to the VNet, and then just you give some connections things, like the host name, username, passwords, those things. Then it will get connected. So or you will be assigning some roles. Mm, we know, right, like what the role means. So consider you deployed your application in the EC2 instance, and then this is your DynamoDB, and then you will be giving your table name here. uh, mm, you will be giving your table name here. So in the EC2, I am going to add some role with the policy of full access to DynamoDB. So once I while the EC2 mission creation, it will be added and your application is deployed. So it can talk to DynamoDB and it will do the table creation and deletions. So that's it about that's it. You were from our DevOps perspective, we have to know. So this mostly all the table things and all they would take it, but I just for a demo, I just wanted to let you know what is there, what is not. So even if you see there is something called subnet groups, this subnet groups means where your DynamoDB should reside. That means like in mostly all the databases you see this subnet groups and parameter groups. Subnet groups is always something like in which VNet or in which subnet my DynamoDB should be present, or like in my database should reside. So you can control over that. And then there is something called parameter group. So I went here and I was seeing some default parameter here. If I click that, and then there is no option to explore. So related to DynamoDB, what it's a PaaS service. Obviously, you cannot control the underlying infrastructure, but you can control over the parameters that because it's an like PaaS service. It has a lot of config values, like what is my TTL, like what is my connection timeout settings, what is my log settings. So there will be a number of settings for database team that you want to modify that you have to change it from the parameter groups. If you go for here in the RDS, if I go for subnet groups, you see some subnet groups, right? So where in which is currently the RDS which I deployed, it sits in the three subnets. And the subnets from these three, if I deploy any EC2 machines in any of these subnets, though they can access this RDS. If it is like private, like if it is in private, they doesn't have any access to public domains. So the machine has to be sit within this subnet only. Then only they are able to access the RDS. So, if you go for parameter groups, or I don't if you go for some default parameter groups, so you see some lot of default parameter groups there. So if you click, I created Postgres with version 14. If you click the default version, you see the application name, array nulls, authentication timeouts, auto vacuum. These are like some default values. So you can just read it. These are the default values. If you want to change it, so you can create your custom values and then get attached to a database. So this will, once you get changed, then these values will be changed for your database. Because we will not be changing anything from DevOps perspective, but like usually you will get this kind of request from the database team. So mostly we will be admin, and the database team also will be admin. So either you or database team, wherever you work, it based on the organization, we will be working on these stuffs like modifying these parameters. So and then if I go back to my RDS, so I have showed the demo for DynamoDB. I will delete it immediately. Mm, so it started delete. So if it comes to this Phoenix databases on RDS, so first for any database you are connecting, like any SQL databases, the five main parameters are that you should with you to make an connection established with your RDS. Okay, RDS or any SQL databases. The first thing would be host. Host means this will be some DNS name, or some public IP, or some private IP. And then database name. This is host. Inside this host, there can be a number of database can be created in the SQL servers. Okay, so for what database you have to connect, you have to have that database name. This host is different. This host means this server. Inside this, whenever you create a PaaS server, this we always call it a server. Inside the server only, you will create the databases. Consider like some small boxes, and then the database uh, port, on which port the database is running. That's for Postgres, it's like 5432. So for MongoDB, it's like 27017, like that. And then there will be something called DB username and password. This can be anything. For Postgres, the default username is like Postgres only, and then some DB passwords. So you should have all these five characters with you to connect to any databases of SQL or RDS. So let me know. So if I am inside this Phoenix database of RDS, I take this endpoint and I come to my PG admin tool. I already have the PG admin tool installed here. So let me go here. Everything taking its time today. Uh, mm. Now I'm my PG2 bouncer PG admin tool start open. So the first option you will be seeing like this only. So in the top one you click the servers and then you do register and then you select the servers. So I just choose it. It asking me some name. I just give some AWS Phoenix database something, and then in the connection the first host name I will give it here. So this is my host name for my database, and I know my port number is 5432, and then I created my database as Postgres only. Oh, I didn't have control over. Mhm. Mm, 1 second. Okay, let me try to connect. It's able to connect. You see, once you connected, you will be looking like it looks like this only. You will have some table spaces, and then you have some logins. So these are like some default roles. So these roles are actually similar to the roles what we talked. So what user has to do what, like these are some kind of groups. This Postgres, you can by using the symbol itself you can identify this Postgres is the user, and the RDS admin is an user which is created by AWS itself, and rest everything is a group. Like read all data means it have whoever like getting added to this group will be have only read access. So I don't want to talk too much about these things. And then if I go to databases, you can see one is RDS admin, which is created by AWS for their administration purpose, and one more database is Postgres from the Postgres framework. Inside that, you will be seeing something called you will be seeing a lot of options. Like first, the main thing you do like talk about schemas. If you see, like by default, only one public schema will be available, where whenever you create a databases, this public schema will get created automatically. If you want, you will be creating some schemas. So okay, now inside the schemas you will see a lot of options like some tables, functions and procedures are there. If you wanted, you can just directly you can create some tables here. So I am not going to change anything in the Postgres databases. Here what I want to do is like I want to some create some databases. So for that, either you can use create database. Whenever you are seeing about some SQL, they would be always suggesting you to like write something using the command lines. But I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm not going to uh, write by using this command lines, and by using the U itself I'm going to create the databases. So I already have some databases with me. So what I will do first, let me create some database here, and then I put it as some uh, employee details something. I'll put the database name as employee details, and then I save it. Then you see a table is created. Under that you see a public schema is there. Once it is created, let me in the employee details, I just right click. You will be seeing a lot of options: create, delete, restore, backup. You see a lot of options. So in your organization, if you people ask you to like do the backup and restore, what you have to do is like you just do the backup of this thing, and then choose any folders, and then save it as it will save it as an SQL file. Okay. uh, and then if they want to if you want to restore, go to some other databases where you create similarly, like you did the backup here, come to Postgres, and then you do the restoration, and you select that SQL file which you created and do the restoration. That's how we do the common backup and restore. If you're not using this pgadmin or any like SQL tools to access SQL databases, you will be out to use this command lines. Those will be like it's not like very handy for DevOps engineers. So you can just use the UIs to create databases, or like some do some small works and that. So now I created an employee details here. Now what I want to show is like right click. There is something called query tool option is available for you. You choose that query tool. Now what I want going to do is like I'm going to first create a table. So if you see this complete query, you don't need to worry about these things. What I'm doing just doing is a create table employees. The first column is like employee ID, and then the second column is like first name, and then third column is last name, email, department, salary, and date, and then just giving the data types for them. And then if I do create, see, it is like create table, query returned successfully in like 75 milliseconds. If I click the public now, if I go to tables, I will be seeing the employees table here. Now you see the employees table is created, but I know no data will be there. If you go to that employees section, and then there is something called script is there. You do select script, and then uh, this is how the select script will be there. Select all these columns from this public dot employees. Public means this schema, this is employees means the table. If you run it, you will be seeing nothing there, because there is no data is there. Ignore this error. What I want to do is like, now I'm going to insert some data. So I'm see these are some commented lines that you don't need to consider. You see insert into employees into these columns. These are the values. There are like different entries are there. When you run it, and then you see like 5 entries are added. If I go back and then I select script, and then I select script, and then I run it, you see in the employees table, now all this data has been added. So if you see my details, in the primary key would be employee ID, taken as 123, the first name, last name, email ID, department, everything it came from here. You added the data, and applications will be using some functions or procedures to merge or do some functions over this data, and then to access it. So that's how about DS. That's what I want to explain. uh, the next topic would be Memcache, the Elastic Cache. So here, um, so I want to ask you like any doubts on the SQL and NoSQL part. You can unmute yourself and you can ask.
Yeah, no doubt, Satish.
Okay,
I
okay.
already done already these things.
Okay, okay. Okay, let me go to Amazon Elastic Cache. So I told right like in order to offload the read extensive workloads from the database, we always create this kind of Elastic caches. So there are different types available inside the Elastic cache. So whatever the first time the query will let me go to the PPT and explain that will be better. So this Elastic Cache, we call it as like an in-memory cache databases. We always call it this thing Elastic Cache as a in-memory cache database. So here currently it is Elasticache is supported with three types like Redis, Memcache, and one more new type that they added. Um, so it's similar like whatever the PaaS service that we get from AWS, this OS they will do OS maintenance and upgradation, monitoring and failure and backups, everything they will take care for us. So what about one special thing about is like this is my application deployed somewhere. Uh, at the first time, what happens? It is tries to access some application from the cache, and then it says the application the data is not available in the Elastic cache. Then it reads from the database and writes to the cache. So whenever the second time it runs, it fetches the data from Elastic cache. That's how these things run. So behind this, from the architecture point of view, you don't have to do much because from the coding side, they have to update lot of logics to make it work. The first time it goes to Elastic Cache and it doesn't reach the data, and then it goes to RDS and puts the data to Elastic Cache. From the next time, it can read the same data from the Elastic Cache. So that's how this mechanism works. So it's been the same thing like this all the PPT and slides talk about. So let me talk about the one main difference about this Redis and Memcache. So this Redis supports multi-AZ with auto failover. That means you will have some primary server. If the primary server goes down, the read replica will be automatically updated as a primary instance. But in the memcache stay, you don't get those things, and you don't get much of the IE availabilities and read replicas there. So throughout, not only in AWS, people see still in on-premise if they feel to have some kind of Redis, like some cache thing, they would be always preferring the Redis only. So it's kind of it's been like in all the organization these things are used. So and then uh, that's it. Let me uh, like show some demo. If you see like when I try to create something, what will happen, it is asking me to create Valerie cache, memcache, redis OSS. It has this val key has been added newly to the AWS. I don't want to create this, I just choose redis OSS, and then design your own cache or serverless. Like you want to go with serverless means you no need to like reserve the underlining CPU and memory. Everything is serverless based on the scalability of application, like based on your on demand, this will scale instantly. That's the meaning of this thing. And then it's a new cache or from backup, I just choose a new cache, and then I give some name for the cache like Phoenix, Redis something. And then in the default settings you will be seeing everything so similar to the document DB, how it is like what is the engine version, availability zone in it's a default availability zone, encryption in transaction instance. So um, so when we always talk about client and server, right? Client and server, whenever a request comes from client, in this transaction in between this path, whether the encryption should be there or not. So that's what we call encryption in transit. Encryption at rest means at the server level encryption is there or not, and as well as the data if is getting transferred between app also, encryption should be there or not. So that's what this means. Encryption in transit is no, encryption at rest key is no, and then it is using the default security groups. You need automatic backups or not. If that's what the most of the default settings there. If you want to customize, you can go and customize. You see VPC, in which VPC it should be, and in which availability zone it should be. What is the security settings you want to customize, that you can customize the key that you want to put. So all these options we already explored mostly in the RDS and the DynamoDB, you will be seeing the same kind of options here as well. So I'm not going to create it. Once it created, just you will give you we always call it as connection strings. These connection strings mostly contains the details as similar to this database. So we talked about some host, username, password, right? So these things you have to share with our application team. So they will be using it in the application to get like talk to the Elastic Cache. So that's it. Like apart from that, we don't need to do much here. So let me talk about the another topic about uh, No, no. Amazon Road 53. So what is this Amazon Road 53? This is one of the famous service and it is being used by most of the organization. This is a kind of this is an DNS service. So let me clear out. Okay. Amazon Route 53 is it's a DNS service. So what we know about DNS? DNS intends like what we actually know from throughout our class. So whenever I access some domains will be like and consider my I have my domain with Phoenix Techno.com. Consider it as my domain name. So whenever I type this phoenix-techno.com in the browser, it is going to load me some web page. How this going to how this got occurred? Somewhere in the common area, consider this is the DNS where we have hosted for this techno for that phoenix-techno.com. You will be mapping some public IP. That is what happening in the backend. Okay, so we will see how this actually occurs in depth today and what are the options that are available for the Amazon Route 53. So this Amazon Route 50 is kind of a DNS server. We talked about it will be this entry will be stored in somewhere in the DNS, right? That kind of a DNS is what this Amazon Route 53 is. Okay, we will explore all the options in Route 53. Um, Let me go back to my slide. So, what is DNS means like domain name system. So like for any websites like www.google.com, it should give some public IP, so you can access it. So this is the basic, right? Like we have a number of websites in our world. Um, each and every websites are in the backend they are actually configured to some DNS only. By using that only people are accessing it. Okay, so when it comes to like let me move on to so here in the DNS, the you always should be read it from the last. Okay, you not we are going to read it from the front. We are going to read it from the last. So whatever the domain name that you see, .com and then .co, .in, these are like some privileged domain names. Okay, for if you are getting any domain names with these things, that those are going to cost you more compared to other domain names. So you have seen a lot of domain names like .com as in government org. These domains are very privileged domain names, and for these domain names, I think they're going to charge like some $30 per month or so, like $30 per month or year something. These are that the last entry before the dot we call it as top level domain, and before the domain whatever it's there that we call it a second level domain. So here it is in like in example.co. Okay, so consider this Phoenix Techno. Now consider my top level domain is going to be .com. Okay, this is my TLD, top level domain. The second will be like Phoenix Techno. So, and then inside this, consider whatever the domain name which I'm going to get. Uh, People will call it as an like a wildcard domain names because they put star in front and then dot the domain name Phoenix Techno and then .com. So, what's the meaning of this star means? Here you can give it any name. Okay, consider something like site dot uh, Phoenix Techno .com. Here my writings are bad. Please ignore that. Site.phoenixtechno.com. It points to one public IP address, and then info dot phoenix dot com points to different public address. Okay, so you can by using this last domain name, by changing this, we will be we can point to different public IP address. But whenever you get a domain name, you will be getting like this phoenix.com or something with some wildcard what like with wildcard validations. Wildcard means before that domain name, whatever you get, you put in front. You can modify that whatever the name you needed. Okay. Mm. you see that example is it's kind of considered this instead of example consider as like Phoenix Techno, that is my second level domain, and then including this only that um, the site.phoenixtechno.com is my fully qualified name. That is what called, we call it as FDQN, fully qualified domain name. Uh, in Route 53 we can create a number of records like A record, triple A record, CNAME record, NS record, MX record, SOF record. So we can create a number of records, and we will see about those options now. So uh, let's see explore how really the DNS works. Okay, consider you can stick with the same example whatever I talked here. You can see your web browser or from your local machine you want to access example.com. First, it will goes to your local DNS, or your local DNS means in like you are sitting inside your organization, means like you are connected to your office VPN. So there they will have some local DNS. Because why they have this local DNS means to connect to the application too much faster. So here in the local DNS, there will be some caches will be there. Cache in sense, you know, if somebody has already accessed these domain names, those informations will be there in the local DNS, so they can get easily access to the domain names. If consider this the first time someone is like accessing this example.com, what will happen first is reaches the local DNS. In the local DNS, consider there is no entry for this example.com. It couldn't find this public IP. What will happen? You know the .com. This is the top level domain or like root DNS server. First, it will goes to the .com server, but this DNS will have the cache of where the .com root DNS server is there. It knows the IP address for that. It goes there first to the root DNS server, and then it gets that it gets that IP address, and then comes back to your local DNS, and then now it get an IP like for .com. It is that IP of like 1.2.3.4. Okay, now it is again forwarding to it got the domain name here, then it will route to the TLD DNS server. The example.com is it actually goes to where it points to that 1.2.34 server, and then really gets the IP of this example.com. So that's what happens here totally. So you got it, Lokesh?
Ah, yes, okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. It first goes to the root DNS server and gets where actually this .com server is hosted. Okay, the everywhere in the local cache always talks to this root DNS servers. This root DNS, it first it will talks to the root DNS server, and then it checks where this .com server is hosted. Here it is going to the TLD, the .com server, and then it gets the IP address, and then it gets the IP for example.com, and then it brings back to local cache. From the local cache, it comes to your browser, and then only this request will go from your computer to that machine directly. Behind that, this many things are happening that we are not aware. So you just want to know. I just want to tell how this DNS works. So let me go to the AWS section now. Let me go to Route 253. The rest of the options I can tell from there. Let me Route 53. Uh, so I wanted to show demo here, but I couldn't get any free domains. Yesterday I tried to get some free domains. I unable to get it. Maybe in like in full demo when we after we complete all these classes, we'll do some practical the full and implementation of CI/CD, Rika Cloud resources, Terraform, everything we'll do. Maybe that time I will try to get a domain name. So what happens is like if you have a domain name, um, so AWS it's an like an well, it's a DNS server, as well as if you don't have any domain, you can purchase the domain from AWS as well, AWS Route 53 as well. So when I came for research for Route 53, this is how the UI looks. If I click the registered domains, so here you have to register for the domains. Okay, you feel like register domains, you like whatever the is see check availability for a domain. So you see each and every if you see like every USD, these are like USDs for the .ac, .academy. This is from the top level domains. If you want this kind of domain, this will be cost like $40, $39, $59. You have to pay the cost for that. So here I'm not going to register, but consider you can either register your domain here. Like I will consider it as like Phoenix techno.com, and I search it, right. So it is checking, it is telling me phoenixtechno.com is not available. Somebody took that, and then some other things are there, like phoenixtechno.net is there. That's fine. Let me put phoenix.net. Now you see exact match is available. phoenixtechno.net domain is available. That for that domain number I have to pay 17 USD per year. Okay, I am not going to purchase these things. Once you selected this thing and then proceed to checkout, you can see the standard pricings and all here. Uh, and then you do the proceed to checkout. I have to select here, like if I give the select option, then you will be asking me to proceed to checkout. You will get the domain name. Then this domain name will be available for you for use. Nobody will else can have this domain name with them. Okay, that's how people throughout the world registering their domain names. If it is already being used by someone, you cannot use it. Mm, here I don't have any domain names. So either you can register domains here, but domain names, the purchasing from this AWS cloud is always costly. So people what will do? They will go something call it as GoDaddy. You might have heard of something called GoDaddy is there, and then Ostinger is there, and then Namecheap is there. These are the top level domain providers. They will be you will once you log into this domain thing, then from there you can buy the domains whatever you want. It is actually cheap there. Okay, that's the reason people are buying the domains from these third party tools like Namecheap, GoDaddy, and Ostinger. So I have actually already used all these kind of platforms already. I have used the Sostingers and Namecheap, but I haven't used GoDaddy to purchase domains before. But I buy it from a organization's perspective view. So let me go back here and then I come to Route 53. Here I'm not going to register any domain. Consider for now I have registered domain here. Okay, and I got the domain name. Then I go to the hosted zones. Hosted zones is where you will be mapping the host name within public IP. So here what I do, I am going to create hosted zone. So here I'm going to give the domain name which was available for me like Phoenix Techno. Still, even though if you don't register domain here, you can do. It's not compulsory for you to always do register domain. If you want to purchase domain, you will be clicking. You will be selecting. You will be doing the register domain here. Consider now, in somewhere like in GoDaddy or somewhere in Namecheap, I brought this phoenix-techno.net. Okay, I got this domain from a third party, and then you see there is some type is there. It is asking public hosted domain or private hosted domain. Private hosted zone means in your VPC, if your applications want to talk to each other, you like for hmm, consider this is your VPC. Okay, so as EC2 machine 1 is there, EC2 machine 2 is there. Mostly this machine can talk to this machine by using that private IP. So consider this gets an like a IP address link the 172 series, but it can also get the same series with the 172 series. But you don't want to access, or you install some other thing here. You want to access them by using some DNS names. Okay, some domain name service. Those times what will be like Amazon Route 53 will be your when you create it with the private option. Uh, when you choose your private option, it is asking me the region first. Let me choose like Asia Pacific or something. Asia Pacific, and then I choose the Mumbai region, and then I choose the VPC. So now I choose the VPC and then I create the hosted nodes. What will happen? Whatever this Phoenix Techno.net, it's available for you within the internet only. It's within the public, uh, within privately you will be able to access. So now if my machine want to access, like consider I'm after I created this registered domains, after I created this hosted zones, what I will do, I will create an entry for this machine, I will be creating like EC1 and then Phoenix techno.com points to this EC1 machine private IP. Okay, and then for this EC2 machine, like I will create like EC2 dot phoenixtechno.com and then the IP address of this machine. So, and this DNS will work internally only because this is a private DNS and it will be accessible within the VPC only. So each and every time what will happen, it already an VPC Route 50 has been associated with this VPC. Yeah, this machine goes to Route 53 and checks if consider like EC2 machine want EC1 machine want access to EC2 machine, uh, what will happen? It comes here and it access that checks for the IP of this domain name and it the entry is present there and it get is and then get connected to here. That's how the private connectivity works. The same thing applicable to the public as well. So here I'm just going to choose it as public. Um, Now and then I'm going to create. Once it created, there will be some default records are there. There are different record types are available. I told it. The first record you see is like SO. Wait, let me expand the screen. Uh, I want to show you everything. So what is this record name is like phoenix-techno.com and it is showing is SOA. SOA means start of authority. Okay, start of authority instance. Who is responsible for maintaining this domain name? How it will know? That's what this SOA record means. So here it is giving some NS948 AWS DNS and all right. This is something it is giving like who is responsible, then it will know this first record points to this owner, this is maintained by the AWS because similar to this DNS you can do this DNS things in Cloudflare, in Namecheap, in Hostingers, you can just host these things. It will know where whenever somebody type for this domain name in the internet, the first thing this information, SOA record should be there, so it will know who is maintaining these domain names. So this by visiting this first record, it will know it is maintained by AWS, and then this is the email ID. The second thing would be like some email ID, and then the third thing something like some time to live we talk time to live some timeouts, those things and all these numbers are points to that only. Uh, that's what the SOA record means. NS record means this is an important one. Consider it's a name server records. What this name server records? Consider this phoenix.techno.net. I actually hosted in Route 53, but I didn't get the domain. Okay, I will get this domain from some GoDaddy or Namecheap. Consider I got this thing whenever somebody comes now from the browser and they type like phoenix-techno.com. Let me explain in the graph. So now somebody will come and then access phoenix-techno.com. Okay, so consider this domain was provided by by Namecheap or GoDaddy. Whenever some from browser somebody tries uh, for this phoenix-techno.net, okay, dot keep it as .net, it comes to the Namecheap and GoDaddy only. Okay, because they only provided this domain, right? Well, because they only do all the maintenance and they will know this domain is purchased, one guy is getting purchased from us and we are the maintainers for that. So those entries will be still in the Namecheap or in the GoDaddy, it will be there, and there will be some name server records are created for you. Okay, Here some name server records are created, but I'm not going to do the DNS settings in the Namecheap or in the GoDaddy. I'm going to do it in the Amazon Route 53. Consider it as like my AWS Route 53. When I when I created the hosted zone here, it is provided me some for Phoenix Techno uh, .NET. It has provided me like four NS records, right? One, two, three, four NS records are there. Now what you have to do, once you did you bought the domain from Namecheap and you have created the hosted zones in the Phoenix Techno in the Route 53, you have to copy all these name servers and put it to the Namecheap. Okay, this you have to do mandatory step. You will be seeing something, right? These name servers are actually points to some DNS settings of Route 53. You just have to copy all these name servers and put it in the GoDaddy. So for the next time, whenever somebody access to from the browser, they still the maintainer of this domain name is like some Namecheap or the GoDaddy, but this records like this ANM record, like AAA records, CNAME records, all these records are actually maintained by Route 53. That's what this name server record means. Okay, so that's why we have to put it. So this hosted zones in AWS and this name chip gets connected here. So it will from next time all the A record and C records will be fetched here. So then, okay, that's the meaning of this NS record, and already we've seen the SOA record. So we will be seeing some more records as well. Let me create and record here. You see, it is asking me some subdomain. So I will put it as something like site dot phoenix techno dot net, and it is like a record. A record means there are like different number of records. For you out for in the general, first you have to know is like a record means you are let me see from slide. Let me check whether I have the information here or not. Ah, so A record always maps the host number to IPv4. So in A record you will be having a name. That name will be mapped to some IPv4. Triple A record means maps the uh, maps the DNS names to IPv6. Okay, if I choose an AAA record, that's why it is showing me in IPv4. If I go for AAA, it is showing in C. It is showing in like in the for the IPv6. So that's the meaning. And then CNAME means name to name. If it is like some site, if I choose CNAME instead of in the values by default section, it will give me some other website. If site.phoenix.techno something is there, it if you want to give some if it has to point to some other name, then here you will be putting that some DNS names of your public IP address or host names will be there, that you can put it. So that's it. The major records like A record and triple A record and CNAME record and NS record, SOA record, and one more thing would be like MS record. MS record like it specifies the mail servers, and then this TXT record is to like some have additional information about the domain names. So that's it. You don't have to worry about my other records. The one we have to concentrate about A record maps to IPv4, AAA record maps to IPv6, CNAME record maps to another domain name, NS record means like name servers for the hosted zones, and then MS record means mail servers, TXT means like additional information about the domain. Okay, these are the record types that we have, and then you see something called TTL means time to live. Okay, what's the time to live means? Here I mentioned as 300, right? 300 second. That means 5 minutes. So whenever you do some NS lookup from your local uh, up to for 5 minutes, it will be sitting in your cache. Okay. After that, it will again checks for the DNS server, and then if any in the backend IP in the backend, if it feels some other IP address has been updated, then after the 300 seconds only it get updated. Okay, during this 300 seconds, you did this cache, you got this cache from your local. Consider in your local machine for this Phoenix Techno, you got some IP address. like 172 or something, right? For that total 300 seconds, how many requests you have sent to browser to this application, it will still point to the same server. It will not move to other server. In between this 300 second, what you do, instead of this public IP, you updated to some IP with 192 dot something else. You updated to some other public IP address, but this will not get updated immediately. You have put in like time to leave was 300 seconds, right? And it went to your local system. It will, for 300 seconds, it will not check the DNA backend public IP address. For 300 seconds, it will still point to the old machine only. So after the 300 seconds only, it will point to the new machine. That's what this TTL means. And then you see something called routing policy is there, right? So this simple routing policy means, let me try to add some records and then show you. So consider for this site .phoenix.techno.com, I add something like 170, uh, put it like something 15.16.14.85. Put something random. I'm just putting it randomly, and then it's a simple routing and my domain, and then I put it on a record. A record maps to IPv4, and then I create record. It will create, but even if it create, I didn't hosted this domain, so it did not work. Uh, Now see, for the site.phoenix.techno.com, a record is created, and it is point to this value, and the time to live is like 300 seconds. Now I want to create one more record. I want to talk about more about this routing policies. Let me move back to my here. I have all the diagrams with me, so it will be easy to explain. Um, so this same thing. Now I already have a good example here. Okay, private zones, public zones. Uh, Then time to reload type into alias record. We will talk about what is this alias. Mm. If you see, uh, first is simple routing policy. There are this question is like very even though people are still stick to use this failover, we will not be exploring, will not be in our original, we will not be using the option, but it is very important for you to understand all these options. So in the simple routing policy, if it is like some site.phoenix.techno.com, it will return you only one public IP. That is what we call simple. That is what we can achieve in the simple routing policy. Okay, and then in the multi-value means, for the single domain, that like foo.example.com, when after it reaches the Amazon Route 53, it will give you multiple public IP addresses that you have added in the Route 53. That is what these both are actually falls on the simple routing only, but you will add multiple entries for that. For this foo.example, I added only one IP, right? Here instead of that, I will be adding multiple values. That's it about this thing. And then the next thing would be weighted policy. Weighted policy in sense like, let me show you. Consider I am going to create something called website called info something info.phoenix-techno.com, and it's still the A record, and I'm giving some random IP address like 3.4. Okay, this is my random IP address. Now instead of routing policy, this one I choose as weighted, and it is asking me to choose the value from uh, 200 to 255. Now you can calculate, you can give some percentage here. I give it as like some 127. um, 127 means it is asking me to give the weightage between 255. You can choose the percentage here, because what I will do is like I will add one more record. Still I'm going to use the same domain names like info.domain.com, and then I just give some other random public IP here, and then if you choose the weighted policy, and then I give some 127 here. I'm just, it is asking me to give the value from 0 to 255. I'm just splitting that. So I'm just splitting the equality. Okay. And then I'm not, don't have here, like this is, I will create as, I will call it as primary main, put it as primary, it's a primary. I'm just giving, these are some just an variable name I'm just giving. record ID, and then you create the record. Now once it created, you see now for info dot phoenix tech dot net, I have created a weighted record. Uh, what will happen? It for first time it will go to this one. The next time it will go to this one because I given this weightage equally here, right? So that's how you will be maintaining the weighted record because somewhere you wanted to route the traffic to for any particular machine, you have to route more traffic, then you will be using this weighted things. So if consider I have three servers here, for this server I have to give 70% weightage, for this server I have to give 20 percentage, for this server I have to give 10 percentage. That's why we use this weighted policy. And then something we have called latency based. Latency based we cannot do anything. Let me we cannot even test it like so consider something. I have something called mm new. I have something called new.phoenix tech.com. Still my record type is the same. I add some public number address 6025 dot 16.24. Okay, I have some domain name here, and then I choose the latency based, and then it is asking me region. I will give it as Asia Mumbai, and then I choose it as give it as Mumbai. See, for this new dot phoenix dot techno dot com, I given the A record and given some value, and then I'm choosing the region as Asia Pacific, and then I add one more record. It is also some same thing. New dot techno dot com. I give some random IP address here. Here I choose something else, South Africa, and then I tell Africa, and then I create record. What will happen now is like for this new dot phoenix techno dot com, I choose the latency. Latency means how soon I can reach the server. So that is what we call latency. Now what will happen? Whoever so now you see like two records are there, and one is consider one it is created in the Africa, one it is created in Asia Pacific. Whoever near to Asia Pacific region, this is a Mumbai region, they will be accessing their IP address will be point to this public IP address. Whoever will be near to this Africa region, they will get this IP address. But both the domain names are same. From the domain they will get the new.phoenix-techno.com only. But their availability is get changed. So whoever near to this region, they will be like compared to these two regions. Consider I'm in India. For me, I know for Mumbai only is near only, so I will always get this IP address. Consider you are somewhere near the Africa. You for this domain name, you will be getting this domain name only, this public IP of this domain only. That's what we call latency. Latency means to reduce the time taken for you to load the application from the browser, we use the latency type. Similar to that, we have something called geolocations. Geolocation is see this is also same thing. See, I put some domain name, I choose some I'm not going to do some random stuff. I put link d.phoenix techno.com. I put some random IP address, and then if in the geolocation and it is giving me asking me to choose a region. What will happen? Only for these people who access from this region for the in the geolocation, they will only get this IP address. Okay, for the same domain, like for the d dot something actually from and then I choose the geolocation and it will ask me Europe, because for Europe, whoever accessing the domain name like the dot phoenix techno dot net, I'll put some random values. Okay, leave it. The dot phoenix techno dot net. Whoever going to access this domain name uh, will be from the Asia, from whoever accessing from the Asia will get an IP address of this one. and then whoever accessing this domain name from the Europe will get different public IP address. So both these pages are will be different here, because sometimes when you deploy some static pages or something, because you will be in Asia, people know to read about English. In Europe they will be having some other language in German, right? You have to change the web pages, right? So that it is one of the use cases. That's how you change the routing for the same domain name. If I log in from India, I will get different web. I will be different. I will be routed to different server. He will be routed to different server. That's the use case of this geolocation. And then we have something called failover. This is an important one. Um, I will put in failover here now, and then I'll still point give the A record. Consider I'm giving it as a same failover. What will happen here? When we talked, you see here it is giving me type. It is asking me, previously I used to give the names and I used to give the region. Now it is asking me primary. So when we talked about some production and DR environments, so always my application the Phoenix Techno.net, consider this primary server is always going to route to the primary IP. Okay, in the secondary region, if there is L check is there, I didn't created any L check. L check means this actually this Phoenix the Phoenix techno.net, it's available or not. It will check whether it's available or not. If it is not available, it will if the primary server is not available, then it route the traffic to the secondary one. That's the meaning of this thing. Okay, you got it. That's why we add two records for the Phoenix record, and then I put some random numbers like 84, like 63, and then I put some here like 19.54, 87, like 33. And then I put the primary, and then put primary, consider it as Asia, US East something. Now it is US West. I'll add it. Obviously L checks are mandatory here. I didn't create the L checks, so that's why it is asking me to put the L check. So that's fine, but that's how you will be using this failover, because from the DNS the primary server will be pointing here, the secondary server will now pointing to here. So if I go back to here, um, here there is something called L checks, right? You will be creating the L checks. What kind of L check that you want? So L check. So at this endpoint, whether the application is running or not, what's the endpoint? So what path, what kind of request you should get from the application. So you create an L check, you put it the L check in the record creations. So and then the last we have talked about this latency based on the latency you will be moved to different domains, and then the L checks we talked, and then the failover we talked, and then geolocation also we talked, and then geo proximity is there. Proximity in sense like this kind of and some advanced things. So consider when you will be doing this geo proximity, consider you have this US East, this is like an USA map. This US East, this we call US West. So you based on some percentage, okay. Here it is like equally split, right? You will be updating some percentage here as well. Like you put some 70 means, so from in throughout this region, in the same USA only, 70 percentage of from this USS to like 70 percentage area people from here, they will be routed that the application will be routed to the public IP here. Rest 30% will be routed to US West one. That's the meaning of this geo proximity. And then multi-value we already seen, for an same record you will be adding different domain, you will be adding multiple records of IP address, so you will get it randomly. You will not have any control. If for the same domain like www.exam.com will have different public IP address, and you will be route traffic there. And then what is there? And then one more thing, I want to discuss few more things as well. Let me go to my hosted zones. Mhm. I talked about CNAME record, right? I didn't create any CNAME record. So uh, for www.phoenixtechno.com, I'm going to make it as an CNAME, and the CNAME will be like site dot I'll type it. So this is how the CNAME record works. If you see, I added a CNAME record. So what happens if somebody types www.phoenixtechno.net? This will route the traffic to site.phoenixtechno.com. I already have it, right? So this will come here, that site.techno.com, and then it will route the traffic to this public IP address. That's how the CNAME works. Mostly, either we will do configuration of CNAME like this, or if there is any DNS names. So when you create a EC2 mission itself, you must have seen some DNS names for the EC2 mission. You can put that as well. So and one more important record type would be alias. So why what's the difference between the CNAME and alias means? Alias it's also kind of some name mapping only. Where it went? When I choose alias, what will happen is see like consider I'm going to have now. mm, mm, I'm consider I'm going to have some record name like allo.phoenix-techno.com, and I'm instead of these record types, sorry, instead of these record types, I'm choosing an alias option here. When I select to alias, you know that service is available in the AWS itself only. Let me choose an endpoint. Let me choose some application gateway. Alias to application classic load balance. Okay. And then choose the region. It is actually in Mumbai. Currently, I don't have any load balancer. That's why it's just not throwing anything. And then if it is there, you put it something like this. Like you put you choose that and then you create the record. That is what the alias records. Alias records, this is not like an in common record that you will find throughout somewhere in common DNSs. This alias DNS you record you only found in the AWS only, because they know they for them they allow a lot of DNS. For in order you to have simply you have to choose that. They have created this alias record. So if any if you can see what are the types here for API gateway, cloud front distribution, global accelerator, S3. We have seen S3 website, right? Static website. We have by using some URL we access the S3 bucket. For that you have to just choose a region and then you have to choose that bucket, and then it will create it will route the traffic to there. So I think I covered all the things about Route 53 as well.